Hi guys, Ready Set RC, back again today, and today we have the Arrma Outcast 4S doing the final thoughts review on this truck after taking it out a couple times. Now, we didn't run this truck as much as we've ran our other kits in the past, simply because this is now the third version that we own, and it doesn't make much sense at this point, even though there have been some beefed up parts on here, that we run this as much as we've run the other truck. So for you guys who are not familiar with this channel, we have the Arrma Sentin brushed edition, which has been converted to brushless. We have the Arrma Big Rock Crew Cab 3S, but also has been modded to some degree, but is brushless. And now we have the 4S edition of the Outcast. The other two that we own, they're on a longer chassis, but this one is the first one that we own that's on the shorter chassis. But for the most part, a lot of the build quality on it is identical to what's on the other two trucks. So didn't really need to run it through its paces in regards to durability as much as the other trucks. In typical fashion, we're going to go through the normal topics, which is electronics, drivetrain, handling and suspension, durability, workability, support, and the opinionated parts of this discussion, which is it worth it and would I buy it again? In regards to electronics, I want to touch on this really quick. You guys know how I feel about the STX2 controllers. I'm not even going to go too much into them, just to say that I immediately removed that controller from this truck. I've had it now. This would be my third edition of having that controller in one of my trucks, and they're downright horrible. They're the worst RTR controllers I've ever owned. Ever since running them in my first two RCs, I no longer run them. As for the ESC and motor, excellent guys. The ESC is the BLX 120 that's running in here, and the motor is a 4-pole 2400 kV motor. Definitely new for this truck. This is not what was in the 3S editions, and it's a ton of power, guys. It is a lot of power for this truck, especially on 4S. It's a lot of power. And just a quick disclaimer on this too, I only ran this truck on 4S. And I'll go into why I did it in that fashion versus running it on 3S and gearing down or any other options. I'll explain that later. Motor and ESC, excellent on temps. I've ran this truck in early spring, early summer, straight throughout. Both times I've ran this truck, no problems whatsoever in regards to temps, in regards to the ESC or motor. The servo, on the other hand, I will say it's a little slow, but for this application, perfect. I think with the slowness of it and the way and what you want to do with it, if you're going to run it the way that I ran this truck, I had no problems with the servo on here. As I said, it's a little slow, but for the most part, I had no issues in regards to how it performed in this application. Drivetrain. So in regards to this truck and the drivetrain, the front drive shafts, the center drive shaft, the rear drive shaft, no issues whatsoever. On all of the Arrma 4x4 1/10 scale lines, they're entirely plastic drive shafts throughout. I've never had an issue with any of them. Not one have I had an issue in regards to drive shafts breaking, stripping out, any issues. And that's going from the brushed edition, converting it to brushless, in regards to the brushless edition of the crew cab, and now this, they all handle the power perfectly. No issues in how they distribute the power, no issues in regards to broken parts. I have had zero issues in regards to the drivetrain for these trucks, and for this one especially, no issues whatsoever. Handling and suspension. I'm going to stay on this one for a little bit, probably a little bit longer than I normally would in regards to handling and suspension. And that's for a good reason, not for a bad reason. So the first thing foremost is that the shocks that are on this truck, they are beefier than what's on the 3S edition, what's on the brushed edition. They are what they consider a big bore shocks that are on here. They are plastic body. They are also not threaded, but they are a bigger shock. I had no problems with leaks. I had no problem with how they're dampened. This truck just seemed to perform very well. And the one thing that I will say that you get out of this truck that you will not notice on the Big Rock when it comes out of the box. It handles turns on throttle. Excellent. Did not have one rollover on this truck. I did not have a rollover where the truck just seemed to go on the side on a turn and start flipping over. Handled very well, guys. And I will say that for this truck and for how it's set up, the handling on this is amazing. I mean, I expected to roll over, but something about these wheels with the lower profiles that are on here and how this thing is dampened out just seemed to handle excellent when it came to on the turns on here. And I really pushed this truck on turns. So I could definitely tell you when I drove it on asphalt, when I drove it on dirt, when I drove it on grass, I didn't have an issue with this thing rolling over whatsoever on this truck. Also on this part, in regards to handling, I'm gonna touch on the 4S part of it too, why I ran this on 4S only. So as you guys may or may not know from my channel, I have several monster trucks, but this is my first Outcast. So I wanted the true Outcast experience. And I think the only way you're gonna get that in this truck is to run it in stock form on 4S. You get wheelies for days on this truck. You get this truck doing standing backflips on 4S. What you also will get on this truck is when you're hitting the ramps or hitting those dirt hills, you will get backflips on this truck. And it's very easy to also get a front flip on this truck if you get the right amount of air for it. That is why I only ran it on 4S. I wanted that. I wanted the ability to do all those little things that this truck promised. And I wanted to show it to you guys on the videos, exactly what they're stating, that, hey, this truck can do standing backflips, that I wanted to show you guys that it can. So that is why, as I said, I ran it on 4S. I didn't want a tamed down version of this. I didn't want this to perform like other monster trucks I own. I wanted this to perform exactly like a stunt truck, and that is exactly what they promise when you run this truck on 4S. I can't speak of 3S because I didn't run it on 3S. I can't speak if you gear this thing down what it would run because I didn't gear it down. I solely ran this truck on stock form and I only ran it on 4S. And what you see on my videos is exactly what you'll get on this. Durability. So I'm going to run through this very quickly, because unlike the other models of my Arrma 1/10 scale line, I had no brakes whatsoever. Now the brakes on the other ones were mild. This one, 0 brakes. I had no brakes with arms. I had no brakes with the normal brake that I would normally get is the skid plate. No brake on the skid plate on this truck. No brake in regards to the wheelie bar, which I would normally brake on my other Arrma brushless edition. This thing performs and handles very well. 0 brakes from what I've gotten on this. So I found from what this truck and what I've put into it and what I've seen from it, the wheels, everything holds up. You know, I haven't had any issues with as I said, with the drive shafts. Nothing broke on this truck. The only thing that I swapped out was the wheels on the wheelie bar, and I'll show you a picture of that. And the only reason why I did that is that I just didn't like how the plastic ones were rotating on concrete. I just noticed that the truck was doing like this weird dancing thing back and forth when you hit the wheelies, and that could be also some throttle control on there as well. I just felt that once I put the rubber ones on, I had no issues with that anymore, and it seemed to give a better, I don't know, shock absorbent to the wheels once I used the rubber ones. And it's just an easy mod. You'd have to use some washers, but it worked. Definitely something that I would advise if you're noticing the same things that I noticed when I was doing wheelies on this truck. Workability. As I said, the only thing that I did on this truck is change the wheelie bar's wheels. Otherwise, everything else handles well. If I could speak on this, I could speak on it based on the other Arrma 1/10 scales that I own. It's very easy. This truck is modular, guys. This truck is, you pop the front out, you pop the rear out, you pop the motor off. It's a modular truck and it's made to be worked on. It's very easy, very systematic as to how they have everything working in here to get in here. So workability on this truck is a non-discussion. It's very simple. Probably one of the more simple trucks you're going to run into out there. Support. Now this one is a harder one for me because personally I never experienced this. But I'm going to touch on support really quick for you guys. So in regards to support, as I said, I've not broken any parts on this truck. I've had no issues to reach out to Horizon Hobby, but I've been following the comments in my videos, and I've been noticing that there are other owners out there that have run into some issues in regards to the support that is on these Arrma trucks as of today. And I will say, what I'm noticing is with these newer Arrmas that are out there, parts are limited. I've been on the Tower Hobby site. I've been on the Horizon Hobby site. I'm noticing limited parts availability for the arms, and there are some specific parts only for this truck that I've just noticed that they're just not available at this time. Now, this truck, at the timing of this video, has been out for roughly 2 months. I expect that to change within the next, the next month or so, that the parts are going to start becoming more available on here. I think from what I saw, and as I said, from the timing of this video, August 2019 is when I did see the next availability of most of the parts on this for this truck. One thing that I was able to get, and I actually bought for my Arrma Creighton 6S, was the wheels. I was able to find these wheels online. I purchased these up for my Arrma Creighton, and I've been running those now on my Arrma Creighton 6S. But that's the one thing that I did see that are readily available. As for these, the suspension parts, it may be a little bit harder for you guys to get those things readily available at this time. And as I said, at the timing of this video, it looks like it's positioning somewhere around August for those parts to start coming in. Is it worth it? Is this truck worth the $399 price it is at the time of this video? Worth it? And I have to say yes. Everything that Arrma has promised out of this truck, I've gotten out of. Based on what I've paid for other 1/10 scale models, it's there. It's right there. The ability to run it on 4S, what you get out of it for 4S, it's right there. I think this truck is a great value. Now, compare this to my Arrma Big Rock Crew Cab. I think it's two different trucks. I'm looking for two different things out of it. This one, I'm looking for it to do stunting. I'm looking for it to do those, wheelies on command. I'm looking for it to do backflips without any effort, doing front flips with very little effort in there. That's what I'm looking for this truck. I'm looking for those kind of things out of it. The Crew Cab, that thing is just a beast. As I said, right now, and I'll go into this when I say, would I buy this again? I'll go into that part too, but I just want to finish this up. But this truck sitting at $399, I think you get a lot out of it for $399. And when you compare this to some of the other 1/10 scale monster trucks out there on the market, for what you get out of this, it's priced excellent. Now, when I compare this through the Arrma lineup, is this priced well? And I still have to say yes. Comparing this to the other Arrma trucks and what they've done to this one compared to the models that are below this, or even when you start to compare this to the models that are above it, like the 6S models, I think you still get a good value out of this being $399. I don't feel that this truck is overvalued at any point. I think it's priced just right for what it does. This is an excellent truck for a seasoned hobbyist. It's an excellent truck for someone who's coming into the hobby. It's an excellent truck for someone who's just has other vehicles and is looking for a vehicle that does a little bit something different than everything else. It just fits perfectly. I just really do enjoy taking this thing out and running this as is. Not really tearing it up and making it into something else. I think this is perfect the way it is. And that would lead into the next part of the discussion. Would I buy this again? I'd have to say yes, I would buy this again. Based on what I own and what's out there, I would buy this again. Now, I know a lot of guys are going to ask me the famous question since my video with the Arrma Crew Cab. Would I buy this or would I buy the Crew Cab? And I have to honestly say, for me and where I am in the hobby right now, I would buy the Crew Cab first. And that's only because I'm looking for an all-around basher. And this, if you do some mods, could probably turn into an all-around basher, meaning you change the wheels up, you adjust the pinion that's on here, you probably lower it down to 3S. But I think after I do all that, I've just turned this into a Crew Cab, or I've turned this into a Granite, to be quite honest, because of the wheelbase. And at that point, why would I just not go out and get a Granite if I'm looking for Granite kind of performance? If I'm looking for a stunt truck, a truck that I just want to sit there and have a joy with, putting smiles on my face, putting smiles around the people around me, doing wheelies and stunts all around, really putting this out there because I think when I drive this truck out there, it really does draw people to it. And that's what you want in the hobby. You want a vehicle that not only puts a joy on your face, but also puts a joy on other people who may be interested in getting into the hobby. And this is one of those trucks. This is definitely one of those vehicles that I found gives the awe factor, or the factor that, hey, look, wow, I didn't know RCs actually do that. I'm used to those toy grade stuff. This brings that draw in, and I think it's a perfect truck for doing those kind of things. And if I was to do it all over again, I would buy both. I would buy the crew cab, and then I would buy an Outcast. And that, I will say, is that's how I would approach it, is that I would definitely buy the crew cab as my first truck, but I would buy this followed up shortly after as my second vehicle if I owned the crew cab. So at this point, we're gonna wrap it up here, but that's it, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram for our latest posts to the channel. This is Ready Set RC, signing out. Thanks again, guys.